too big a word. That's like mayonnaise. I'm assuming that's the biggest word I know.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the Blitz Wild Card Weekend Edition. I'm Thomas Viola, and joining me, as always, there we go, it's Derek Carty. How is everybody doing today? Derek, we are feeling good. We have a great slate, despite only a few games. I thought that, yesterday, Chris and I were doing our college football show. It was only half an hour because we only had the two games. We were talking about the props for those games. But even with the reduced slate here, we are not going to be having that because we have a whole bunch to get through, and the chat is already pumping up here. Bro, KGB is here. Strawface is here. What's the motto? Made it early this week. Chad Martin, Jessica Brand, of course, back. Luke is here. Milo's here. Sports Videos is here, and Cheeseburger Eddie. The gang is all here, and we're having fun, guys. Thank you so much for being with us, as always. Derek, how are you feeling going into Wild Card Weekend here?
I'm feeling good. Coming off another good week last week, the season, we got off to a little bit of a slow start, but it wound up being a really good year once again. We have, like you said, even though we only have 6 games this weekend, we have like a full slate of plays to talk about. There's plenty of stuff showing value. A few markets opened in the last hour or so, which gives us a couple extras to even talk about and to get in on early. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, we've already got questions coming in the chat too. And like you said, Luke is really happy because we've got at least 8 props to hit on today, just from the ones that we want to look at. And then we, of course, will be taking everybody's questions as always. But it's great we got a full slate out of everything. I was not expecting it. I believe these are updated because, yep, Justin is awesome. And week 18, not bad. And we finished the regular season up 15 units. Another 1.25 got added last week. Drew Lock, we did not hit on that passing TD1. And Aiden O'Connell tossed an interception. But other than that, the only thing that burned us was Bijan. Zay Flowers didn't come even close, of course, because of his interception, because of his injury. Mike Evans. Now, that was a great call. I think that's one that we really got to talk about.
That was exactly how we drew it up. Exactly why we talked about it on the show is exactly what happened, which I love to see.
Yep, it was fantastic. 102 yards was just way too high. Sure enough, at the end of the game, they're forcing him the targets to get him his record, and then that was it. It was the end of the game. He wasn't benched, but hey, it's nice when a plan comes together and everything worked out just fine. And Jessica says, hey, 1.25 units is great for a 7-pick selection. Give me that ROI every day. Exactly. We have nothing to complain about.
Even the 15 units over the course of the season, it might not sound like a lot, but that's an 11% ROI, which is fantastic for betting. That's you take that every time.
Yeah, and that's assuming that you only took the props that we have on the show.
Right, exactly. You're using the simulator and the projections. You're getting other stuff. You're getting more volume. For sure.
Yeah. I haven't tabulated my final results from the regular season yet, but I think I finished somewhere around 5% ROI, which I'm thrilled. It was a good season. But we've still got
all the plays I gave out across everywhere I do them. I finished with an 8.9% ROI, which I'm more than happy with.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And in addition to that, Justin was kind enough to give us a nice little recap here from our 18 weeks. I love this. These were our best players this season. And there's really no surprise on this list. We loved Calvin Ridley unders. Tony Pollard is the only one. I know his name came up a bunch of times, but I feel like we were straddling between overs and unders on him. And then, of course, the Chuba train was our MVP. We made 2.7 units betting on Chuba, going 4-1 there. Just a shout out to everybody here. And sure enough, Boglor, the gambler, Boglor again. And what's the motto with Ridley? Easy too. But everybody loved the Chuba train this year. I might have to, I might just have to get a Chuba Hubbard jersey after the money that we made on him this season, Derek.
It's probably a good idea. Maybe I should look at picking one up too.
Seriously. All right. But enough looking at the past. We've got 8 plays to get to today, as well as, of course, answering everybody's questions, and people are already throwing them in there for us. So don't worry if you did. Yeah, Barbara saying Chuba brought Boglor a new house. That is absolutely true. That's fantastic. All right. We will get to everybody's questions as well. But first, let's get started here with the props we are looking at this week. And we are going to Curtis Samuel first here, Derek. Talk us through this one. Makes a lot of sense to me.
this one moved in the last. It was there when the show started. I mean, we'll still take it here, I think. This was 8.5 as of a minute and a half ago, and it must have just. But yeah, it looks like everyone moved. But yeah, 7.5 still showing fine value. This was one of the ones that just opened recently, so I was expecting it to move fairly quickly, and it is. It'll probably move another yard, I would think, before close. This one, what this really comes down to is just that, like, Buffalo's entire offense now is fully healthy, and Curtis Samuel is basically their 5th wide receiver and like their 10th option in the passing game. And especially once you get into the playoffs, teams tend to condense their target trees. The good guys tend to play more, get more targets. You don't have to save them with rest for a full season. Samuel played a lot last week. Obviously, I think he had like a 30% target share or something, but that was because the game didn't matter and all the regular guys didn't play. But they have Shakir, they have Cooper, they have Coleman, they have Matt Collins on the field a ton because they love his blocking and everything else. So, like, Samuel's the number 5 here. There's a legit chance he only plays like 4 snaps. I could be wrong. Maybe he does more than that. But I think it's more likely than not that he doesn't even see a target here. So I will take and this is a spot where Buffalo shouldn't have to pass the ball that much anyway. They're big favorites. So I like the under on this. I like the 8.5 more. I'll still take the 7.5.
Yeah. I mean, we're really betting the same thing here. We're saying he's probably not catching a pass in this game.
Yeah.
And it really is wild.
And with Samuel too. I mean, it's possible they draw up, he's the kind of guy you can draw up a screen for or something where he can catch that and still not get this. So,
he's not typically the deep threat burner. He's going to catch something short if he gets targeted at all. And it really is a testament to, wow, how different the Bills receiving core is. Remember last year, just Diggs leaves and it's like, okay, who is Josh Allen throwing to? And then all of a sudden they've got so many targets that Curtis Samuel, who's a guy that they brought in to be their number 2 at one point, and now he's down to 5th on the depth chart. Yeah.
It's just hasn't been his year. He's been hurt all year, hasn't been able to carve out a spot for himself. This is available on MGM, but it's also at Hard Rock. It's also, I think, Sharpbook P has one. And if you can do Underdog, I think they have it too, but obviously at worse odds or worse implied odds. Someone's saying Flick has it. I mean, again, this one just opened in the last less than an hour. So it's possible that other books start to open it. They start to trickle in. You could even wait and see if someone else opens up an 8.5 in the next few minutes.
Al Mello saying the same exact thing that we did.
That's most exactly what I was saying. Yep. That is in play too.
Yeah, a lot of different options for you there. Bet365 also has it. Just a good play all around. I mean, we're seeing it. And by the way, Chad also said it was on Penny. Pinnacle as well. Chad also pointing out under 0.5 receptions might be a nice play too if we get plus odds. I mean, we could take a look at it, but again, the bubble.
They don't have that market open yet. If they give us under half a reception, at plus 160 or something like that, would certainly be something I'm interested in. A guy like this, they don't always open a reception market for. In the playoffs, maybe they will to try to put some extra stuff out there, but definitely we'll keep an eye on that because that would be good too.
Yeah. A reminder to everybody, we are at 1,669 subs right now. Let's get to 1,700. But wow, we weren't even at the 1,000 mark at the beginning of this season. So it feels good. Thank you all for being here so much. And let's move on because we're a couple common angles that we're looking to exploit on some of these props, Derek. I'm noticing the pattern here. Do you think that in the playoffs now, teams are going to kind of be tightening up their rotation a little bit like the NBA? Where, okay, some of these guys down further on the depth chart simply aren't going to be getting the play because we have a couple of these like Xavier Hutchinson here on the Texans. We're once again going with the he's not going to catch a pass angle.
Yeah. Or even if he does, I mean, 11 yards, you can catch a pass for under 11 yards.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is similar kind of thought process here. As we get into the playoffs, teams tend to not play the guys lower on the depth chart as much. Houston has obviously Nico Collins at the top. John Mechie, assuming he plays, he's still questionable, but it looks like he's going to go. If he doesn't go, I worry about this one. But assuming Mechie goes, he kind of established himself as the number 2 after Tank Dell went down. They have Schultz, who's going to pick up targets. They're going to throw to Mixon. They also have Deontay Johnson in the mix now. He's been with the team an extra week, played a little bit last week. I would think he's going to be mixing in here as the wide receiver 3 or maybe even 2, which is going to kind of leave scraps for Robert Woods and Hutchinson. I'd like to think in the playoffs, Woods is the guy that we see a little more action from, just the veteran leadership. He kind of has more of a defined role here. It's again possible that Hutchinson doesn't see the field much, doesn't see more than a target or 2. I like this one.
Yeah, I'm a little worried myself because I also have that John Mechie under. So I feel like one of those is going to hit, one of those is not. Someone's going to get that catch, but hey, we'll see. Maybe we can roll everything together. Sports Video is also saying real quick, what's going on with Amari? Do you think he plays? Yeah, he was back at practice 2 days ago. He's playing.
Yeah, they said he was having some kind of personal issue. They didn't elaborate on it, but he's back. They said he's back. He's practicing. I expect him to play. Yeah,
not at all worried. Connor, I see you there. We'll get to you. We'll get to your questions as well. Do not worry. Emmanuel Wilson is going to be
our next. Pulled it off the board, and FanDuel just dropped it 2 yards. That's a good sign.
Yep, that is definitely our doing right there. Clash's pride is sneaking in the stream at work. We love it, man. We love it. That's dedication to the game right there. All right, let's talk about Emmanuel Wilson because, man, the Packers have not given him the ball at all this season, and we continue to reap the rewards.
Yeah, this one I've already taken Josh Jacobs over, so I don't love kind of doubling up on the same thing here, but on a short slate, I don't mind it, and I do like the angle on this. We're taking Emmanuel Wilson under 12.5. We had -110, -114 here, still good. You can see there's some 11.5s out there too. It's the same kind of thing where we're in the playoffs. We expect the teams to be riding their stars more, and LaFleur has a history of riding his best back heavier, deeper into the year. We saw it down the stretch with Jacobs right up until games stopped kind of mattering. And then last week, we saw a lot less Jacobs, a lot more Wilson, a lot more Chris Brooks. But I would think first round of the playoffs in what should be a close game, there is a chance Josh Jacobs is the only running back that touches the ball on the ground here. I expect Brooks to work in a little bit in the pass game at the very least, but there's a chance Wilson doesn't get a single carry here. And if he does, 12 yards, I mean, at 3 or 4 yards per, he needs, assuming he doesn't break off a long one, like he needs 3 or 4 carries to get this, which I don't think is especially likely here.
Yeah, I'm in the same exact boat as you on this one. Changing 500 also says, what did you take on Jacobs? I know personally I have his over attempts and I have his under receiving yards as well.
I took his over yards because the attempts weren't out yet earlier in the week, but I think the yards still actually projected a little better. I got him over, I want to say 72.5 at plus money or something like that. There were also 68s and 69s at, -110, -115 that were fine. I don't know where he's at now. Actually, we can take a look real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, 69.5, close to even. Like that's showing good value. I like this more. I probably like this more than I like the Wilson one, but they're both good and they're kind of similar angles where I just expect Jacobs to get most of the work here.
Yeah, I mean, we have not gone broke this season betting on Josh Jacobs to do things. That's definitely for sure. But definitely, Marwell's saying is Jacobs an alt over type of guy. I don't know. What do you think here?
I mean, the Blitz, I can pull up. I mean, actually, we have it right here. I mean, the projection's 93, so you could look at the alt overs here. Depending the odds you get, I don't mind it. If you're getting over 80 at plus 150 or something like that, you might be live with that.
Yeah. So be sure to take a look at the market, seeing what's going on. And Milo also points out that if Wilson does start getting run, you can always bet one of his overs live if you want to.
That's true.
So Yeah, that is something to watch out for, but I do not think that he is going to be doing all that much here.
And it's not even like he's the only backup here. Even if Jacobs doesn't get all the work, like they also have Chris Brooks. Like they kind of split the backup work between them. So
yeah,
I don't see Emmanuel Wilson getting a very heavy workload.
Yeah. Well, without line is already moving all the way back down. It's down to 10.5 now at FanDuel.
Well, I like to see that.
Yep. All right. Let's go on to our next one here. Oh, Jessica is saying we got 80 plus 130 at FanDuel, 90 plus at 2-1, and Russian 05 says 80 plus at DK is plus 140. So there you go. And then boom, the gamblers just got it here. 155 at ESPN. So that's probably your best bet if you're looking for one of those right now.
Yeah, I think obviously I prefer the 155. I guessed 150. So if you're getting plus 140, plus 130, I don't maybe love as much. But you're certainly getting some value on those. I'm good with that.
Yeah. All right. We are motoring through these, but let's talk about J.K. Dobbins, because this is one I took with you, and I was looking at it earlier in the week when it was down to 13.5. It moved all the way up. Bet365 still has 15.5 carries for him here. And then we got some 14.5s in the marketplace now. Talk to me about what you're seeing out of JK this week.
He's been all over the place. Opened at 15.5, dropped to 13.5 everywhere, has started to come back up. There's some 14s, there's some 15s. We had okay, that's what happened. So MGM had the 14 at plus money, and that's gone now. They moved up to 15 too.
Yeah.
So we'll take this 15 line for our tracking purposes, 15 at minus 130. Gus Edwards is back.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at how Dobbins has been used in games that Edwards has played, does not see as much usage. 15.5 is a big number for him. This is going to be hopefully probably a game in a dome where they might lean a little more pass heavy anyway. Kind of a closer game, could be back and forth. Like I don't see this as a game where they're going to run away with it and just be able to pound the ball in the second half necessarily. So between Dobbins splitting some carries, between the way this game sets up, so if you can bet at Fanatics, the minus 125 works even better.
Marwell,
the 14.5 is fine. You can see the 14.5 here, even money. It projects 29% versus 31%. Like it's super close. You can take the 14.5 too.
Yeah. Sports Video saying every week he's blown away at how pass heavy they are. It's certainly not what we expected out of a Jim Harbaugh offense, and B, a team that did not have great receivers going into the season. Obviously, Ladd McConkey has shown out. Bogler and Milo, you read my mind. That's all I'll say on that one. That is the exact same thought that I had.
Yeah. There's also the chance too. I mean, they signed Ezekiel Elliott, right? I don't expect him to suit up this week, but he might, even if he takes a couple of carries away like that. That's huge. So right now I haven't projected out. There's more upside for this if Zeke plays. Yeah.
Then another one to look at, if you guys prefer this or Gus Edwards over 5.5 rushes, the Zeke Elliott thing is going to come into effect here, I'm sure. So let's see what we think. I mean, we're still getting a pretty good edge on the Gus bus here as well.
Yeah, we are. I don't mind that at all. I tend to lean towards unders more than overs where it's kind of close. I mean, this is showing good value. I'm fine either way. Either way.
I feel so. I think that I'd prefer the J.K. Dobbins angle, because my worry with Edwards is that he's the one who's going to get his usage eaten into by Zeke. Because Zeke is probably
definitely
back.
Yeah. It's possible if Zeke plays that Dobbins' usage doesn't change at all. It's possible it does. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. If there's also a scenario where Zeke just takes some of Gus's stuff.
Yeah. I think that's something that I would definitely be a little bit more worried on. Almela says it took Fanatics a month to shut me down. Congrats on making it that long, man, because I sure didn't. All right. Let's talk about another running back here, but we're going to be going to his receptions market. Let's talk about Rashad White. We've bet this one a few times this season with mixed results.
Yes, we've had mixed results on White. Eventually, what I expected to happen, like, really started happening down the stretch where, like they were clearly souring on him, and it's well past expiration at this point. Bucky Irving is their lead guy. He's getting most of the carries. Even in the passing game, you look at kind of the usage for these guys. Like Bucky Irving's is out there running more routes. Rashad White is running fewer of them. He was running, routes on 60% of the dropbacks earlier in the year. Last week, he was down to 25%. Did not see a single target last week.
Yeah.
They did say, I think Todd Bowles came out and said they want to get Rashad a little bit more work, but with how little he's playing right now, and again, given that this is the playoffs and teams are going to play their best guys more, I expect more Bucky. We're getting pretty solid plus money on 2 catches for a guy that his workload's dropping. I like this one.
Yeah, and another thing to point out here is Rashad White, when he does get usage on passing downs, it's mostly because of his ability as a pass blocker. He's a better pass blocker than Bucky.
Right.
And that's
so
you're not catching passes if you're blocking.
No, but and that was part of the reason why earlier in the year, even when Bucky would start eating in, like we still saw Rashad White in there when they were trailing for pass blocking on passing downs. We're seeing him a little bit less in those now. Bucky Irving's a rookie. We're at the end of the year now. His pass blocking has improved since the start of the year. They're trusting him a little bit more. So just lots of reasons to like where we're at with this one, I think.
Yeah, and again, the only reason I was bringing that up was because it supports the theory, because Rashad White, if they're keeping him in there, if he's playing on passing downs, it's to block, not go out and get a reception.
Right, that's true.
Milo saying he thinks DK was always at plus 120 on that one. So, okay. But we've still got it at Bet365 at plus 135. So we've still got a way better number out there. And then if you can't get that, MGM is out there at plus 125 as well. So you've got some good options there. Now let's talk about a guy who I had to Google to find out what team he was on. We got John Bates. This, like we said, the angle this week is pretty clear. We are looking at receivers who we do not expect to get on the field much.
That's what we're looking at here. John Bates under half a receiving yard, minus 110 at 365. This actually moved a little bit in our favor. The 110 looks good. Another situation where I'm expecting Zach Ertz to be, used. I mean, he's an older guy, obviously. Throughout the year, they're not playing Zach Ertz on every snap. They got to keep him healthy for the whole season. They're in the playoffs now. It's must win. You even look at what they did last week with Zach Ertz, and it wasn't even really a must win game for them. And Zach Ertz was out there for, instead of his usual like 3/4 of the routes, he was out there for 93% of them. Bates was out there for, instead of his usual like 20%, he was out there for 9%. Assuming that kind of pattern sticks here in the playoffs, like this is a guy who only had a 2% target rate all year on those 20%. So cut that in half, maybe 1% of the targets, might not even see one here. I think there's enough chance that he doesn't see a target, plus the chance that even if he does see one, might not catch it. We're looking at some good value on this one, I think.
Yeah, Marwell saying, what's the likelihood that Bates sees 0 snaps? Is he a blocking tight end kind of guy? He's going to get a snap, I feel like.
He's going to get snaps. I'm not concerned about that. He will get a few snaps no matter what. Their third tight end, Ben Sino, however you pronounce his name, I have no idea. He's a rookie. There's a chance he doesn't see any snaps. If we were betting him, maybe I'd be concerned, but I think Bates is going to be out there for a few no matter what.
And the other good news is if he's not out there for any snaps, we void and we live.
It's void. I mean, part of the hope on a play like this, part of the value that's built in is that like he doesn't play and he doesn't play much and we win because of that. So if he were to not play, that this play wouldn't look as good because the value wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But I fully expect him to play.
Sick Boy has a good point here. Where's the ride the best players logic for Dobbins? That would be my concern. I think my thing is more so that the structure for the Chargers has been, we want to ride our best player, and that's Justin Herbert. So we want to pass the ball more. Like, Dobbins just isn't getting into the game script in the same way.
Yeah. And for a lot of this stuff, it's like, okay, we're looking at guys that, okay, how do I say this? Like, they weren't getting a lot of work to begin with, and now we expect a little bit less. So it's like, well, they really might not get much. Dobbins was never getting a monster workload. Like, he was only getting 55, 60% of the carries anyway. Like, I don't think we're going to see J.K. Dobbins 90% of the work here. That seems too extreme for me. Maybe they bump him up a little bit more, but I still would have to think they're going to be working Gus Edwards in. Especially early in the year. Like, it wasn't even like Dobbins was the starter and Edwards was the backup. Like, they started the year kind of mixing and matching them, and Dobbins has established himself more. Edwards hasn't looked great, but I still think they want to use both guys. I could be wrong, but that's my impression.
Yeah, and Milo does say, assuming Zeke plays, Harbaugh's going to love the idea of him at short yardage in the goal line, which is true, but I also think more so eats into the Gus Edwards plays, because that's really where he comes into effect a lot more. I mean, remember, what was it, last season when he led the league in rushing touchdowns or something like that? He had some crazy rushing touchdown amount and an insanely small yardage. Yeah. He was the greatest goal line back we've ever seen.
Which I'm fine if he wants to take some of those carries and you know, Dobbins doesn't get them. Especially, nothing's worse than the goal line carry where you get stuffed and then you go again and you get stuffed and you build up your carry total because of that. You know, Zeke removes, if Zeke plays, he maybe removes a little bit of that risk too, which is nice.
Yeah. All right, next one up here, we're going to another player that no one really talks about, very underrated guy, in Josh Allen. Man, a couple of years ago, in seasons past for the Bills, I would say this is a crazy bet because they simply did not have a run game and would pass the ball constantly. But here we are, 22.5 completions for Josh Allen, and we're looking at the under here.
It looks like we lost our line here. We had 22.5. I think it was minus 110.
Yeah, Caesars is now down to minus 120.
Yeah. I mean, I hate betting against Josh Allen, especially in the playoffs. I was willing to do it at minus 110. Let's see, minus 120. It's still fine. We'll still take it here. We'll still take this.
Okay.
I like the 22.5 a little bit more than I like this 22.5 more than I like the 21.5. This is showing as the best line, but you can see they're like identical. Yeah. I'll take this one.
I'll pay the extra juice on that for the extra completion there.
Yeah. Nothing against Josh Allen. He's great. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, all the receivers are healthy. But this is not the same run or pass heavy team they used to be. And they are almost 10-point favorites here, more than a touchdown favorite. They should be able to run the ball a little bit. He might not have to throw the ball enough to even get to 22. This has been moving up, actually, this market. It opened at 20.5 everywhere, moved to 21. Now we have some 22s out there. This is where I'll start to buy into it. I'm okay. I'm okay at this number.
Yeah. Your hope here is blowout. It's minus 135 at Caesars now.
All right.
Well, we know why that moved, but again, this is one where we're hoping for the blowout game script here and that the Bills are running the clock by the fourth quarter.
That's definitely what we want here. If it's a close game, this one seems dicier, but more likely than not, they should have control of it by the third or fourth quarter.
Yeah. And a good point on that Bates play here from Jessica. 225 of Bates snaps in 2024 came on special teams. So there you go. He is a special teamer, and that means that we get his snap count and we get the under. It's the best of both worlds there, because he's not going to be catching passes on those special teams plays. Watch him catch a fake punt now.
I hope not. Yeah, I like the Bates one.
Yep. Clash's Pride still at 21.5 at -110 on Hard Rock here for Josh Allen as well. So feel free to go and grab that if you still like the number.
Yeah, so there's still value on that.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it. I think there's value. It's just betting unders on Josh Allen is scary, but that's kind of why they offer the numbers they do, because they know people don't want to bet the unders. So there's some value doing it.
Yeah. All right, let's go on. We've got one more, and then we'll get to everybody's questions here. But Milo also points out if the Bills game is close, play volume might be down as the Bills play slow anyway, and Allen may run more. Also,
very
a very
possible
good point there.
Yeah.
So we got a lot working for us on that one. Next up, let's talk about Russell Wilson. This one, we're going to his carries market, and we've had some success with this because, man, the shifty player that he was early in his career is not there anymore.
No, it's not. So we have one book. Where is it? ESPN is hanging a 3.5 at plus money. That's the one I like the most.
Yeah.
4.5, you have to pay some really heavy juice for. I don't mind doing it. Obviously, it shows good value here. I'd much rather wait for more books to flip to the 3.5 and then take a plus money one. But if you just want to take the 4.5, you can go right ahead and do it. He has only gone so he's gone over the 3.5 a few times this year. He's gone over the 4.5 a few times this year. But a lot of the times he's gone over, it's because of kneel downs. If you strip out his kneel downs, he's only gone over the 4.5 once all year. He's gone over the 3.5, I think 3 or 4 times, like a third of his games. Like he's not getting a lot of design runs. He's not scrambling a ton. And Pittsburgh, I mean, they've won games and he's had to kneel down. They're facing Baltimore here.
They're 9.5, 8.5 point dogs?
I think 9.5 point dogs. Chances are we're probably not getting Russell Wilson kneel downs. And so if you're just looking at his overall lines, his overall rush totals, you're going to overestimate how often he's actually truly running the ball. When you reduce the probability of the kneel down, this shows really good value.
Yeah. D-Lee saying any worry of playoff desperation. Quite frankly, I think that it goes the other way. And if they're desperate in the playoffs, they're not looking to have him run the ball and they're looking for more. Oh, wow. Balin says under 15.5 rushing yards at -115. I feel like that has value.
Let's take a quick look. I think I like the carries more. But yeah, you're getting some value on that for sure.
Mm-hmm. And ESPN just nuked that number.
Of course they did.
Well, I mean, it's us. Like, we know what's happening. It's everybody going to get it.
Lines. If you guys are watching this show not live, if you've come back later, I think every single one of these that we put out has moved. Like, that's just, it's what's going to happen. You want to watch these shows live with us and get the numbers before they move.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, because that price is really what matters here. Like, if you're just going, oh, well, the price doesn't matter, I can just take whatever Derek's playing later on. Like, chances are you've had a worse time this season than we have here.
Yeah, the numbers you're seeing if you're watching this on replay are not the same numbers that we're giving out.
Yeah, but hey, we got a whole bunch of people here already talking about it. Oh, Milo, just bet Russ 10 plus rushing yards in the fourth quarter at Massive Moneyline Live. You could do that, I guess.
You could, honestly, if they're trailing. Yeah, I mean, he could scramble and just pick up a big game. Yeah, I don't mind that if you get if they offer you the right line.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, look at that. Just from 115 to 110, 115 to -110, just quick. But that is going to do it for the props that we have here. So let's talk about those real quick while you guys throw your questions in the chat. We'll go back up to the ones at the top. We didn't miss any of you guys, but we will be answering any and all of your questions now. So throw them in while we talk about how we're going to go with Curtis Samuel under 7.5 receiving yards, -110 at BetMGM and Pinnacle. Xavier Hutchinson under 10.5 receiving yards, -110 at Bet365 and Caesars. Emmanuel Wilson under 12.5 rushing yards, -110 at the Bet365. J.K. Dobbins, we're also going under 15.5 carries on him at -130. Rashad White under 1.5 receptions, +135 at Bet365. And the Rivers John Bates under 0.5 receiving yards, -120 at DraftKings and Hard Rock. Josh Allen under 22.5 completions, -120 at Caesars. RIP to that line. And Russell Wilson under 3.5 carries, +115 at ESPN Bet. RIP in pepperonis to that one as well. Russian pointing out here, we are on the under train today, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't realize there wasn't a single over, but yeah, not a single over.
Yep. That's the name of the game this week here. We're looking at things not to happen. And quite frankly, some of these teams could play a little bit cagier coming into the playoffs here. We'll have to see how it goes. But right now, let's head back up to the top and let's talk about some of these other plays, because I know we had some people right off the top asking us for questions. And let's start off
questions about plays that I definitely like.
Yeah. Let's start off with Jessica. Let's start off with Jessica. She's talking about Demarcus Robinson under 1.5 receptions, +145 at 365 MGM and Hard Rock here.
This was the first bet I took earlier in the week. It was +165. It's since moved down. I gave it out on the cover show. That nuked the price a little bit. Because they changed the venue, I think some books voided it, which, if you ask me, is just complete nonsense. I remember a couple of years ago, we took some unders in a Bills game because there was snowing, and then they moved the venue, and we lost all our undervalue because it wasn't going to be snowing anymore. It was indoors, and then not a single book voided it. Now they're voiding it because they reopened it at like the same numbers. It's not like they voided it and then they reopened it at a new number because they're expecting something different. Like it seems like I don't know. It doesn't seem fair to void the bet and make you bet it again at a worse number just because they don't want you to have the better number that you got before. It seems ridiculous to me. But if the best you can get is this 145, still a good bet. I like the Demarcus Robinson under. In games where Kupp and Puka have both played, he's out there playing. Like he'll be out there on 95% of the snaps on the routes. But his target share gets lower. Again, playoffs, we expect them potentially to focus more on Kupp and Puka. They also have Tyler Higbee healthy back now. He should kind of step into that like third option for them above Robinson, I would expect. So yeah, if you had it voided, take it again. I still like this one a lot. This is one of my favorites of the week.
Yeah, we're seeing a whole bunch of these out here that they voided a whole bunch of these.
That's nonsense. Like that's not even fair.
For a game from a dome to a dome, like what? Like it's much more sensible to do it when we went from the snow game to the non-snow game. But
if you're gonna void one, you should have voided that one.
Yeah,
and they didn't, and you're gonna void this one. Like it seems like they're cherry picking based on what kind of closing line value they're expecting to get on these. Yeah. I hit the Demarcus Robinson yards the other day, but I might come back around and take this as well. I know it's doubling up on him. It's a little bit risky, but hey, we'll see. Yep. It's the playoffs. We got a light slate. I'm down to roll the dice a little bit more and make this a little bit, All right. I'm looking here. Cheeseburger Eddie says Bet Rivers gave him his walking papers. He blames the show. Hey, we're sorry. It was definitely related to it there. I'm in the process there. I am going through from the old comments here because I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Connor Frazier says, thoughts on Schultz unders with Derwin being such an effective defender against tight ends? It's a very good question there. Yeah, I've heard this angle talked about by people. It looks like the Blitz isn't seeing much value one way or the other. I mean, Houston has had so many injuries. Like Schultz is going to have to get some attention, just because like, who are they going to throw to? But no, this looks like a no bet to me.
Yeah. Let's see. We had a question here from Ryan asking about Saquon unders this week. They've popped every week, and I don't think we've bet a single one of them.
Yeah,
and I also don't think many of them have won.
They actually haven't popped in a while, and I certainly am not looking to do them. 12% is not enough edge for me to take a Saquon under right now. I mean, he's averaging 6 yards per carry, which just like
It's bonkers.
cannot like it's not sustainable. That's not his true talent level. It hasn't regressed because sometimes that's what happens. But I'm not betting his under unless it's showing huge value.
Yeah. Dealey wants to know about Dalton Kincaid, who has been an enigma this season for sure.
Yeah, I know the Blitz was really low on Kincaid coming into the year. I won a season-long bet on his under, which was no sweat at all.
Yeah.
A little bit of value on the receptions. Probably not enough for me to take it, especially considering I already have Allen and Curtis Samuel. The yards maybe looks a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Depends how much exposure you want to this game. It's an offense where you don't know where the targets are going to go. Like they spread it around so much. They play the matchups. Like they have 5 guys that could legitimately lead the team in receiving, and Kincaid's one of them. I'm fine with it if you don't have other stuff from this game, or if you don't mind, having some correlated stuff. This looks fine to me.
Yeah, again, you're baking in a lot of correlation, but if we want to get volume down on a lot of these games, that's what it's going to be. It's either going to be a great week or a horrible week. I have a feeling it's going to end up more on the great side, but surprise, surprise, I'm thinking that. Yeah, like shocker. We think that we're going to have a good week right now. Lucky Jim wants to know thoughts on Cam Akers under 5.5 rushing attempts. This one's so tough because he does get some work.
He does. I took his yards earlier under, I think it was 24.5 maybe earlier this week. Mm-hmm. Attempts doesn't actually show much value. Let's see if the yards is showing anything. Yeah, the yards I'd be more inclined to take for Akers.
Yeah.
Part of this is, again, it's a dome game, probably, assuming they don't open the roof in Arizona. Should be back and forth. I expect a good amount of passing here from both teams, I think. And it's one of those situations where it's the playoffs. Akers is the backup. Aaron Jones is not a guy that is like a massive workhorse type of guy during the regular season, but they could easily decide, okay, playoffs, it's all or nothing. We're going to ride Aaron Jones, and Akers is only going to see the field a little bit. Yeah. So even with a normal workload, this line still shows some value, but with even just a small reduction in expected usage for Akers, we're getting some value on this one.
Yeah. Derek asks, Hurts rushing attempts. I mean, this is always one that you want to watch out for because I'd personally stay away this week because we're dealing with concussion protocol Hurts. Yes. Do they run the tush push? That's the question.
With the injury, I'm guessing this one's going to be showing a little value. I haven't bet it. I don't plan to bet it.
Yeah.
I think there's too much uncertainty. I think the projection, even if it likes it, let's say, what was it? Rushing attempts. Did it ask for yards?
Yeah, attempts.
Attempts doesn't even show much value here. So I would not, especially with the uncertainty with the injury.
Yeah. How about Ty Johnson receiving yards? AZ Flights back in action.
Let's take a look at that. I would imagine if there's a bill showing an over on receiving yards, it's going to be Ty Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And it is probably not enough for me to take it. But yeah, Ty Johnson's a backup. Obviously he's a backup to James Cook, but I don't think he's a true backup in a pass game sense. They really like what he does in the pass game. He's been taking work away from Cook down the stretch. I think they're going to work him in the pass game plenty here. So if there is a side to take, I think it's the over. I don't think there's enough value for me to do it here, but you could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like my Samaje Perine bet. I was taking it no matter what the workload was, but I 7.5 yards. I think that this is something that he reasonably can go over there. And on the comment of Cam Akers, Sick Boy says Aaron Jones can't finish a game lately, and they do not trust Chandler. That is very true.
That is very true.
Yeah. So some stuff.
I don't expect Chandler to see the field at all.
Yeah.
And if Jones gets hurt, then obviously the Akers play is dead.
Yeah.
That's part of the risk, but I'm okay with it. I like it.
Let's see. Rob Holden and Nitish are both out here asking about Jaylen Warren carries. I took this one already, so I hope you don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I just don't have the stones to take it myself. I don't have any feel for what Arthur Smith is doing with his running backs. It feels like it's just throwing darts every week. Who's going to get carries? The projection's kind of a hedge. I feel like it's fragile. It definitely shows value here. But I don't trust it enough to be like, yeah, I'm going to bet this. You can. Projection looks good. I didn't do it personally.
Yeah, I took it just based off of the projection. I mean, the Steelers do weird things, and Warren does get action. It's more in the passing game, but it's not like
he has been involved more the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Since we've gotten healthy, I am kind of tilting the projection a little bit that way, but my confidence level in it isn't as high as it will be for other projections.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's talk about Olamide Zaccheaus under 39.5 receiving yards here for the gambler.
Let's see. A little value, really just based on the distribution more than anything else. Not enough for me to want to take that, I don't think.
Yeah, not really doing it for me there. Changing 500 says, how about Cook's receiving yards instead? I know he burned me a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I've taken Cook's not Cooks. So it looks like
yep.
a little value. Yeah. Oh no, yeah, it's got to be James Cook we're talking about. Little that I assume based off the Ty Johnson conversation. Little value on the yards, not enough. Do they have a receptions for him yet? Oh, I think I might have actually even. Oh no, not. This shows value a good amount of the time, but a lot of times they're giving us plus 130, plus 150 on it. If the best we're getting is now plus 115, plus 120, maybe not enough.
Yeah, not really interested in looking at that one there. Natish wants to know about Aaron Jones rushing attempts over. And while you're getting to that one there, Steven does have a good point. Kind of see the Hurts situation the other way. If he's through protocol, he's back, and his body has to be the healthiest it's been all season after a few weeks off. I bet his over rushing yards.
I mean, it is the playoffs. Like, if he was, if we weren't concerned about health, like you'd think maybe they let him run a little bit more. So you can take that angle if you want. I know the Blitz was showing some value on his yards overs.
Yeah. So definitely some different angles you could take there. Aaron Jones overs, I mean, I like this number. They feed him a lot, but that injury risk is still a thing.
Yeah, it's not a massive number for an over, a little lower than I generally like, especially since I already have the Akers one. I probably prefer the Akers one. I mean, it's kind of like super correlated plays. If you want to take this one, you can go right ahead. It shows value. I think I prefer the Akers angle a little more.
What's the motto wants to know about Stafford rushing yards?
Fire it up. Every week, Stafford rushing yards.
Yep. It's a good bet.
Yeah. I gave this one out on the cover show the other day. I'm very much on this. There were some minus 110s and minus 115s. It's moved a little bit. You see most books are moving down. But even if you get it at the minus 130 here, you're still fine. He's gone over this, I think, 4 times all year, and it's been 4 out of the last 6 games. So books are not changing this line, even though they should. It's gone under way more historically than it's gone over. The projection obviously shows that it should be going under. Just a guy that doesn't get design runs, doesn't scramble very much outside of the last few weeks for whatever reason. I don't expect that to continue. We know who Matthew Stafford is. He hasn't changed. This is the same guy that we've profiled all year, last year. Like he's not a guy who rushes. There's the chance, even if he does get a sneak or a couple yard scramble, that a kneel down brings him back under. I like this. This is a play that's going to win like 70% of the time, and you're getting it at a number that implies much less than that. Yeah.
A bunch of people dogpiling on Arthur Smith here real quick. And Cheeseburger Eddie asks about, we'll get to Eddie. Jalen, he wants to know about Jalen Warren receiving, but Milo has a good question here. How much more often do QBs run in the playoffs? Do we know anything?
That's a good question. I don't have a number. Like, I haven't fully studied that. I probably should. Because I would imagine they are running a little bit more. But that's anecdotal. I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. We were going to Jalen Warren receiving yards here.
Let's take a look. Yeah, under 22.5. There's some value here. Again, it's a weird situation with Arthur Smith, even in the passing game. Like sometimes Najee sees a good amount of pass game usage. Sometimes he's phased out almost entirely, which then affects Warren's usage. Like, I don't feel comfortable enough to bet it. I don't think the value is strong enough to be like, all right, well, even with some variance, some Arthur Smith weirdness, this still looks fine. It's low enough where I think I just pass on it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, questions about the Ravens. Sports Videos wants to know, how do you think the Ravens approach this game without Zay Flowers, more Henry, more Lamar rushing? And another question about that from Changing 500. What about Lamar's rush yards?
Yeah, Baltimore's a team, they want to run the ball to begin with.
Yeah.
Without Zay Flowers, and given that they should probably be playing with a healthy lead against Pittsburgh, I expect them to lean on the run as much as they can. As far as passing goes, it's possible we see someone with a spike in targets. Bateman sees a spike, or Andrew sees a spike, or something. More likely, I think they just spread it out, because aside from Flowers getting, a healthy target share this year, they've spread it out to everybody else. And I think that's probably just what we see. A few more for Bateman, a few more for Andrews, a few more for Likely, Aguilar on the field a little bit more, Tylan Wallace on the field, maybe getting a few. I think that's most likely, but we can't say for sure.
Yeah. Jerry wants to know about Stafford passing yards over. By the way, guys, we are coming up on the end here, but we do have a couple more minutes, so we'll keep going for as long as we can, but set the screen. We'll be starting at 1:00.
Yeah, so you can see there's a little value here. I've talked about it on shows in the past. For the passing yards market, I rarely bet it. And when I do, I'm looking for like 50% or something. 28% in the passing yards market, especially for an over, doesn't do it for me. Yeah. I don't think there's a lot of value on that.
Yeah, like passing yards is when we're looking for monster edges in order to make it really stick out to us here. Couple more questions coming in, though. Stafford passing yards, Milo Kaminsky clowning Arthur Smith. Almello, Josh Allen rushing in the playoffs, 10 games, 83 carries, 563 yards, 5 TDs. Ryan K wants to know Kyren Williams rush attempts.
This is one that's showing some undervalue. I have not bet it. I don't think I plan to. First, it's not like a huge value anyway. And also, it's one of those situations where it's the playoffs. We expect teams to ride their stars more. It's very possible that Kyren Williams gets every single carry for the Rams this week. I can't project it that way as the mean or the median expectation. Like, I have to assume someone else is going to get something.
But they love working him. He has crossed 20 carries in a lot of the games this year, regardless of script.
Yes. And Blake Corum is hurt. So, like, how much do they really want to run Ronnie Rivers in the playoffs? Like, I'm giving him a carry or two, I think, because I just have to. I'm giving him less than other systems are that I've noticed across the industry. But I still don't want to take the under on Kyren here.
Yeah, that was a big sigh there. Did we talk about Josh Jacobs receiving yards? I don't remember.
I don't think we did. We can take a look at that. Mm-hmm. Little bit of value on the under.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough for me to take it probably, but you could.
Yeah,
I do expect Jacobs again to see a heavier workload than normal, but I expect that a little bit more on the ground than through the air. Like, I do think that Chris Brooks is still going to be a part of their pass game. He seems to be enough of, like, not a starter, but like a real role in their offense, where even in the playoffs, I don't expect that to go away. This looks fine, but no, I'm not jumping over hoops to get it.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield passing attempts. Nitish was actually looking at the under, but he said over because that's a common typo, but he corrected himself down here. Let's talk about those attempts.
Let's take a look. I know there weren't a lot of attempts markets showing value this week. There's a little bit. You can see the Blitz is about 2 attempts under. You have to pay a little bit for it. It's fine. It's another one where I'm not going out of my way to bet it. And if you are, I mean, you can see the market's been moving up all week. You probably wait until closer to game time. Maybe you get even money or plus 105 or plus 110, or maybe a book moves up to 34.5, and then you're thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might have some opportunities there. And then what about Kyron changing 500 a couple times? Kyron receiving yards, though. Let's talk about that.
Let's take a look. Not showing much value.
Yeah. Okay, we have 2 more minutes here, which means we can get through these real quick. Baker rush yards, first of all. And then Larry wants to know about any spots sticking out to you for negative correlation, if there's anything you can think of, because I know that's not something we usually broach on this show, but I mean, there are definitely some opportunities out there, especially this week.
So it looks like a little value on Baker rush yards under. Again, not enough for me to really take it probably, but it's fine if you want to get something down.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Any question? Final question here. Any spots sticking out to you for negative correlation? Anything jumping off the top of the page for you? I know that's not something that we usually go in planning, and it can require a little more work. That might be a question to explore in the Discord, Larry.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Williams is a guy where you can do. I don't know what his lines are, but like if it's like a 1.5 reception line and like a 15 receiving yards line, like you could think about that maybe. It's going to depend on the odds that the book gives you for the parlay too. Yeah, nothing comes to mind immediately.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for the show for Wild Card Weekend. We will, of course, be back same time, same place as always for the divisional round next week. And you know the drill. We'll be back with you guys for the entire playoffs and the Super Bowl. It's going to be a very fun time this postseason. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you again for being with us here all season long. You guys are the absolute best. Love that everybody in the chat is always jumping in, always talking. I love that we've made such a great community out of this over the past several weeks, over the past 2 seasons. And of course, don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You can check out the Discord. You can talk to Derek in the Discord because we have a channel set up specifically for the Blitz and the Bat. We will be back next week, but for now, it is time for Set the Screen. So if you are an NBA member, stick around on the channel, but the link will be in the Discord as always. And hey, thank you guys so much. Best of luck on Wild Card Weekend, and let's cash some tickets. We'll see you next episode, everybody.